How's it going, guys? It's the Pixelated Pumpkin, and in today's video, we'll be taking a look at the seemingly complete Lowe's Halloween 2024 animatronic lineup. Now, all this stuff was leaked through Facebook, and how people source these images, I have no idea, but it doesn't really matter to me because we have them all anyways, and, well, I'm gonna talk about them. Now, we have a nice mix of stock photos and photos from this expo Lowe's is doing. This seems to be closed off to the public, maybe it's like a giant manager's meeting or something, but I'll mainly be talking about the stock images. Lowe's has a ton this year. I mean, this is a huge quantity of brand new animatronics, and I'll be talking about them all. There are a few licensed stuff specifically from the show Wednesday, which was super popular last year, so it made sense for them to cash in on that. But there's also a really great mix of some new original animatronics that I'm really liking. Honestly, before we even get into it, just glancing at these props, I think this is one of their best lineups possibly ever. So let's jump right into it. As we typically do with these videos, I'll start out with the fan favorite, and this fan favorite is actually my personal favorite from Lowe's this year, being the scuba diver. And I mean, this guy is just awesome. First, nautical themed props. I don't think we've ever seen these before, and Lowe's has went all in on it this year because there are quite a few of them. But back to the scuba diver, this is easily the best prop they have this year in my opinion. I mean, this thing is just awesome. It definitely reminds me of that one Scooby-Doo episode. I'm sure they've took some inspiration from there. But this thing is just such a cool designed prop, and it's so unique. I really love the green glowing skull he has. Definitely reminds me a lot of the Exterminator that Techie Toys made a few years back, and I'm pretty sure this is a Techie prop, but it doesn't appear to be a reskin or have any sort of fog machine attachment to it, so it's definitely a little bit different. This thing is super detailed though. I love that spear he has. I forget what those are called, but you know, you hunt sharks with them, and it just looks super cool the way he's holding it. This is just a really awesome design character in my opinion. And I don't know, I'm just really happy with the unique theming it has. I would love to see a spaceman style prop of this guy in the future. Like, this thing already kind of looks like a spaceman a little bit if I'm being honest with you. But if they just go all in with a sci-fi themed version of this, I would be so down for that. But anyways, about this prop, there's something a little bit strange going on with it because there appears to be two versions of it, or one of these photos is the prototype and one of them is the final. So the second photo here appears to be a little bit different and arguably worse looking than the other one, so I'm really hoping this is the prototype, but it appears at the expo this is the one that is being shown and set up there, so that kind of gives me some bad hopes, but I don't know. Another theory I have is that one of these is Techie Toys and the other one was made by Jemmy, like they had both of them make a prototype of the prop, but that seems a little bit less likely in my opinion. Anyways, I'm really hoping we get this version of it because it just looks so awesome. But regardless, I think whichever one's released, it'll be such an awesome prop. Next up, we have the Wednesday Addams animatronic, specifically based off the TV show from last year. And I'm not going to say much about this one because I watched the first episode, and that show was definitely not for me. So I really don't have much to say about this. I mean, it looks very accurate to the TV show, and she seems to be in her pose from that clip that went viral last year, so honestly, this prop just seems like a pretty simple cash grab, and I mean, it looks good enough, well, at least in the stock image. The one they show at the expo looks nothing like how the actress who plays her looks in the actual TV show, so I don't know which one's the final and which one's the prototype. But, yeah. Anyways, again, I really have nothing much to say about this one. I mean, for fans of the show, it's cool that they're getting this, but, for me, I could care less about it. Next up, we have an Emos Skeleton playing the keyboard. So last year, of course, Lowe's had those two skeleton band member animatronics. One was playing the drums, the other was playing a guitar, and this year they've seemed to be adding on to that lineup of props with this keyboard skeleton. Again, emo, but I think it's really cool. I do like the hair on this one. Again, I think it's funny because, again, it does look like he's emo with it going over one eye. But the keyboard is really sick, and I just think it's a really cool looking prop. And I'm excited to see the animation on it. I have a feeling his hands will move up and down, and maybe he'll even move from side to side so he's covering the whole keyboard as he plays, but I think it's just a really cool prop overall, and I'm actually really digging these band animatronics. Overall, I'm really liking this one. I don't have too much else to say about it. Next up, we have our only new 12-foot prop from Lowe's this year, being this Gravedigger guy. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not really digging this one, pun intended. Now, I'm kind of getting really sick of the 12-foot trend because there's no reason for a 12-foot Gravedigger. I mean, we've already had this before from Seasonal Visions. It didn't make sense then, and it doesn't make sense now. Why would what's supposed to be a human be 12 foot tall, have a giant shovel, be carrying a body in a bag that's popping out that's normal human sized? So I really don't get this one. I don't think it looks very good either. This one definitely seems to be one of the cheaper looking 12-foot props. Even if this is made by Techie Toys, I'm just not a fan of this one at all. And this is definitely a sign that the 12-foot prop trend really needs to die soon, because I'm getting pretty sick of these, especially this one. This one is just not good. Next up, we have this witch animatronic, and to be honest with you guys, this is a pretty cool looking witch, especially the face here. It is super sinister looking, and honestly pretty creepy. Now, witches are typically very, very goofy, and it's nice to see one that's done seriously here. Definitely looks like a swamp witch, sort of, and I don't think it's as good as the one at Home Depot last year, Lethal Lily, but this one is still good in its own right, and definitely brings a nice sinister touch to the witch genre that I feel like we've been missing for a long time now. The only thing I don't like is the cloak. It feels very bland and cheap, but other than that, it just has a super, super cool design, and overall, a really cool witch prop. Now here we have this Beheaded Knight, officially licensed from the Haunted Mansion, and I mean, I don't even remember this guy from the ride, but I have to say this is actually a pretty cool looking character, a lot better than the other life-size Haunted Mansion character they had last year, which was the Gravedigger. This one looks like it would be more accurate to the ride for sure, and I do like the design of it too. It definitely seems a lot more high quality than the Gravedigger or Grave Watcher from last year that was again a part of the Haunted Mansion ride. I definitely like how this one looks better. Definitely more spooky overall, and just a cool Halloween prop in general, even if you're not using it for the license. Here we have our only clown from Lowe's this year. I have to say congratulations to them, because that has to be a record low number of clowns for any Halloween animatronic retailer within like the past 5 years. So I do appreciate that there's only one, and hey, this one is actually pretty cool. It appears to be another Techie Toys clown, which we seldom see, so I do think that's a cool part about it, and Techie Toys always makes great clown props, even though it's super rare they ever do, and I really, really like how this one looks. It is so cool that he's balancing on those two pins there. I mean, it is a really cool looking illusion, and I'm really, really curious to see what the animation is going to be, because if it has like a soft swaying back from side to side motion, like with his elbows, or maybe he pushes up and down like he's doing push-ups, sort of, I guess you could say, on the pins, that would be a really cool animation. Regardless, I think this guy's a pretty cool design, and I do like the purple and green color scheme here. It definitely bounces nicely off of each other. Just overall, an actually surprisingly good clown, and thank God it's the only clown they have this year. Here we have our next nautical prop, being the sailor, and holy crap, this is another really, really awesome one, and very, very creepy. Starting off, I just love the design of this dude. I really like those glowing eyes he has. It's rare that the glowing eyes add to a creepiness effect. Most of the time they just make the prop look cartoony, but here they do a really, really good job. It's like, I don't know, there's something very ominous about them. I really like the beard he has too. I don't know, it's just kind of rare to see props with beards, I feel, and this just seems like a really good use for it right here. I like the hat he has. He definitely looks like a very creepy sailor. Again, not a pirate, but he's just more of, again, a sea-type prop, which is cool. I do like that big steering wheel he has. This thing looks a little bit more pirate-esque for sure with the skull on it. Definitely really cool, though. My only concern I actually have about this prop is that it seems like it'll be a very hard prop to use in a display. I mean, it's only going to make sense if you actually have him set up on like a boat structure. Otherwise, if you just set him up in your yard, what is he steering? Like, it'll look really dumb. So that's my only concern with this prop. So it's kind of useless unless you actually have some sort of boat structure you could use already. But other than that, it's still a very, very cool design character, and I'm a big fan of this one. Next up, we got this Gargoyle, and I'm just going to come right out and say it. I do not like this thing one bit. I mean, for one, that face, that is probably the most Sunstar looking face you could put onto a prop, and this isn't even a Sunstar prop, so whatever company made this did a really bad job with the face there. It looks so stupid, and why is it so tiny compared to the rest of the body? and it just looks super fake overall. I mean, this is a really, really bad designed Gargoyle, in my opinion. I think the wings look super cheap and flimsy. Just everything about this guy just screams ultra cheap to me. For the animation on this one, it looks like a pneumatic to me. I know Lowe's did the pneumatics last year, and I think this might be a new pneumatic prop for this year. Again, I'm not the biggest fan of the pneumatic props. I think the only good one last year was probably the Groundbreaker. Other than that, the other two just made no sense to be pneumatics, and they would have been better off just having normal animation. And I don't know, the pneumatic props are way more expensive, and most of the time, like this, if this is a pneumatic, they just end up looking cheaper and arguably way more weird than the normal props do. So I'm not the biggest fan of pneumatics, and if this guy is one, there's no exception there for sure. I just think this one looks really dumb looking, and yeah, not a fan. Now here we have the evil Pilgrim. Well, this isn't really an original prop. It's actually, again, from the show Wednesday, and I have no clue what this guy's actual name is. But regardless whether it's from the show or not, I actually think this is a really cool design, and I really like the face on it. I mean, those scars or like the burns on it look really, really creepy, and I don't know, there's just something about this one that actually looks really cool. This is definitely my favorite prop from the Wednesday license, I guess you could say. I don't think this guy is an OG Addams Family character in any way. I think this was just made up for the show Wednesday. I'm pretty sure he's the villain of the series. But again, I've only seen the first episode, and again, not for me, that show. But this is actually a really cool design character, so good job to the creative team on the show for cooking this cool design up. I mean, when do you really see an evil Pilgrim type prop like this? So I think overall it's pretty cool. I'm not really sure what the staff is for. Again, that has something to do with the show, but it's a cool design regardless, and I definitely like that it features the fog effects here. Next up, we have this pumpkin Groundbreaker dude, and to be honest with you guys, I'm just going to come right out and say it. I don't think this thing is that great. I'm assuming it's going to have like a jump scare pop-up animation, and I mean, this has been done so many times already. I mean, at CVS, you have like one of these every single year pretty much, so it's kind of cool we're seeing a more professional, I guess you could say, version of it, and not just like a tabletop quality thing, but I don't know, this thing just really doesn't strike that chord as most pumpkin head props do for me. I like the jack-o'-lantern face here. What I don't like is that rib cage he has. If he's a pumpkin monster, why does he have skeleton hands and a rib cage? And it also looks like for the mechanism to do the jump scare, it's not actually in his arms, but it's in his neck sorta, so it doesn't actually look like he's pulling off his head, which is a disappointment to me. So, I mean, this thing is fine for what it is, but I don't know, I've seen much better, I feel. Now here we have another addition to the skeleton band Lowe's is doing. Obviously we had the keyboarder, and now we have the lead singer. And honestly, this thing is probably more badass than the keyboard one. I really, really like how he has his hand raised up in the sign of the devil. And from this picture here, it looks like that's going to probably be his animation, as he's going to be banging that hand down back and forth, which I think is going to be really awesome. I also like how he's standing up sort of on the tombstone there, like he has one foot placed on it. That's really cool, especially that the tombstone lights up. That's, again, really cool in my opinion. I think this one probably is the most detailed design. I mean, we did have the emo hair on the keyboarder, but this one has that nice red cloak, sort of. And then he also has long white hair, which is pretty cool as well. Definitely a really unique one for sure. And honestly, probably my favorite from their whole skeleton band lineup they've been doing. And just to throw this on real quick, here's a reskin to the guitarist skeleton last year. They just changed up his guitar a little bit, made it green, gave it a new design. I don't know, I still think this one is pretty bland. I think we could have a way cooler skeleton guitarist, but I mean, there's other options out there already. So that's it for these two, and I'm a really big fan of this skeleton band they're doing. I wonder if they'll continue this with more instruments in the future. Here we have, I think, another licensed Haunted Mansion prop, being this beheaded woman who's holding her own head. And honestly, this one looks super cheap in my opinion, and I'm just not a fan of it. I don't remember this from the ride at all, and I mean, we already have so many beheaded women props that look very similar to this, honestly, like Beheaded Bride. I mean, there's a whole lot of other options out there. I mean, Beheaded Bride is a super hard prop to find, but you know, this is kind of doing the same thing, and it looks 1,000 times worse in my opinion. I mean, that just looks like a Sunstar face, if I'm being honest. So, yeah, not a big fan of this one. I like the Haunted Mansion ride, but, like, at the same time, this is just not really a good prop to choose from that ride. There are way cooler options, in my opinion. Definitely the Knight was better than this for sure, and, I mean, I'm not a fan of this one. Here we have a sea witch, and it looks like garbage. I don't really have anything else to say. Alright, it's unique, but the execution just looks so generic. Here we have this weird Tombstone guy, and there are a lot of problems with this one. The most noticeable, of course, is because he's sitting in this big box in front of it that really wouldn't make much sense for it to be above ground unless you dig out a little hole and put him in it, so it looks like he's underground. Otherwise, again, you just have this big box sitting right there, and it's very clear something's going to pop out of it if that's what that guy even does. This appears to be another pneumatic animatronic from what I want to say, but then if you look at this photo here, he is an incredibly small prop. I mean, this thing is really tiny. He's standing next to, I believe, a 3-foot Reaper, which we'll get into later. But I mean, I'm going to be honest with you guys, this is just another really bland one in my opinion. And again, it doesn't make sense that box is sitting above the ground. I mean, you can't really do anything else. It's not like the prop will come built in the ground. And I think it's a cool idea with this guy supposed to be bursting out of the ground or like a coffin, but I feel like it could have just been done a lot better in my opinion. And this was definitely not the way to go about it. Next up, we have Cousin It from the Addams Family, or more specifically, the license from the show Wednesday. And I mean, this just seems to be a simple 3-foot character. I have not much to say about it because I haven't seen Wednesday, and I'm not the biggest Addams Family fan. I really haven't seen much Addams Family media in my time, so I don't even know what this guy's whole gimmick is, but he's just a hairy dude with a bowler hat and a nice pair of shades, so it's alright. As mentioned before, here we have this little 3-foot Reaper, and I could not care less about this thing. I mean, it's just pretty generic in my opinion. A fine addition to the lineup. I really have nothing to say about it, like, at all. And here's our final prop, and I may have saved the best for last, being this awesome zombie sea monster human hybrid captain type dude. Well, whatever this guy is, this is probably one of the most unique props any company could ever bring us. I mean, this is a nautical prop at its finest. This thing is so freaking cool. I mean, first you got those tentacles coming out of this zombie's mouth, and it just looks awesome. You also have that massive hook there, which is super cool as well. I even like how there's some coral growing on the end of it. This guy just looks really weathered, really creepy, and just easily one of the most unique zombie props we've probably ever seen. This is definitely one of my favorites from this year. I think I do like the scuba diver a little bit more, but this is definitely a very close second. Such an awesome prop. Honestly, all 3 nautical props this year probably take the cake as their best props for sure. I'm a really big fan of this one. Again, it is really cool looking. I mean, I love this one a lot. Well, everybody, that's going to do it for Lowe's Halloween 2024 animatronic lineup. And honestly, it kind of sucks this stuff got leaked so early. I mean, if all this stuff was leaked during the summer or June, I'd be a lot more happy. I just feel like it's a little bit too early for all this stuff to be coming out. But regardless, I'm happy they did such a good job this year. This is definitely one of their better years. And if you guys are wondering, no, that big display they have set up at their expo will not be in any stores this year. I think it's just something they did to show off all their props. They're not actually going to be bringing this thing in stores. Definitely unfortunate, but I mean, it's kind of expected. Again, overall, I think this was a really good year for them, especially with those 3 nautical props. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they all do. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe as always. And remember, nobody out-pixelates the pumpkin.